The organisation, which claims to represent hundreds of Muslim groups, has elected its first British-born leader, an engineer from the East End of London. Harun Khan is the youngest person to head the Muslim Council of Britain. But in the past, it's made headlines for having a strained relationship with the government. In a moment, we'll speak to Mr. Khan. But first, this report by Alex Bushell.
The counter-terrorism strategy depends on winning the hearts and minds of British Muslims, and nowhere is that more important than here in London, where 12% of us identify as Muslim. There was a time when the Muslim Council of Britain was at the heart of the Prevent strategy. No longer. It fell from favour when in 2009 a senior member of the council signed a letter in support of Hamas, the Islamist group that runs Gaza. The group's boycott of Holocaust Memorial Day at the time was also damaging. Since then, the organisation has continued to be criticised for being too conservative and out of touch, particularly with the young.
80% of British Muslim population are below the age of 30. They're not there in larger number. They're still dominated by the earlier generation. That failure actually leaves the Muslim community and their voices far outside the mainstream conversation. So they need to be involved. Muslim Council of Britain needs to hand over the leadership to the younger generation once and for all.
It's also faced accusations it's influenced by Islamist groups, but many within resent the belief that religious conservatism leads inevitably to violent radicalism. After all, it has repeatedly condemned terrorist attacks and described them as un-Islamic. The challenge for its new leadership is simple: to reconnect with those it represents and once again to enjoy influence within government and the wider community. Alex Bushell, BBC London News.
Well, joining me now is Harun Khan, Secretary-General of the Muslim Council of Britain. Welcome to the programme. What do you want to bring to this role, and how are you going to change the MCB?
I think first, for myself, being second generation Muslim, born and brought up in this country, and first time elected as a Secretary-General of an organisation which is almost 19 years old. Interesting, I saw the clip, just a glimpse of the clip that you played, some of the historical sort of relationship and difficulties that were faced. We've moved far on from that, I think, as an organisation. From myself and what I bring is trying to bring better communication, participation and unity across communities, I think, for Muslims as well as wider society. That's really going to be my focus. But
you've admitted in the past that there is a problem with your relationship with the government. It's virtually non-existent. And you need to have a relationship if you're to have any credibility. What do you plan on doing about that? Well,
I think credibility lies within acceptance within the masses. So, you know, there are two national surveys that were done over the last 2 years by ICM and by Comres, which stated that even though we as an organisation don't represent all Muslims, we represent our 500 affiliate organisations, where more than 50% of people said they agree with the Muslim Council of Britain and the views that we express.
But if you have no influence with the government, it's all very well representing those people, but it won't get anywhere.
The influence is good. I think it's important. We're saying what we need to say. We're not there to be...
But is the government listening to you?
Well, we don't know if the government's listening to us. They seem to be... We make statements, we express an opinion, a viewpoint. It's up to them to accept. I mean, we live in a democratic country, and we're a democratically organised organisation, and we express a view, and it's a view that they should be listening to. If they choose not to listen to it, I think it's their loss. We're there as a critical friend more than anything else.
We heard earlier on in the news today that radical preacher Anjem Choudary is facing jail now for drumming up support for Islamic State. Do you feel that his conviction will help tackle extremism here in the UK?
It's been a long time coming. I mean, the question is, why did it take so long? He's been given airtime on the media. We complained even to the BBC back in December 2013 when he was given an unchallenged seat on the Today programme to espouse his sort of radical views. It's a welcome message. I think he's been convicted. If he goes to prison, etc. And I think it takes him out of that space where we can have some balanced discussion on a lot of the issues that are raised by young people.
The Muslim Council of Britain has had no measurable success in dealing with extremism and radicalisation of young people, as you say. What do you plan on doing about that?
Well, our role is to listen to people, which is what we've been doing. We've been holding conferences. We've presented to the Home Affairs Select Committee. I've been there myself, expressing the views that we get from people on the ground. And really, it's not really just on us. It's about the government listening and changing, their approach.
And of course, it's your job to represent British Muslims, 2.8 million of them, they are hugely adversely affected by poverty, a lack of education, unemployment. What are you going to do for them? Because they're still facing growing discrimination.
We represent our affiliates primarily. So, you know, we're a membership organisation. So even though we speak for our affiliates, it does replicate what's happening on the ground across the rest of Muslims. And especially in London, there are just over 1 million Muslims in London alone. And yes, you're right. Even last week, we saw the headlines around the triple penalty for women, Muslim women, so not being able to get into jobs because of not only are they Muslim, but then also they're from a minority background as well, and women. So they're, you know, they're being hit. So there are many areas of policy, and we welcome that. So even from the government Women's Equality Committee, it came from them.
Harun Khan, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'm afraid we have to leave it there, but lots of work to do. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.